Hello everyone, my name is Made Puspadewi from 7th E class. Here I would like to present a presentation about English presentation in Business English. Okay, let's start the presentation. In this presentation, I will explain three topics. The topics are closing a presentation, handling question, and presenting quiz. Okay, let's jump into the first topic, which is a closing presentation. The conclusion is also incredibly important for bringing all of these ideas back together to reframe them. So it is safe to say that the end of your presentation is just as important as all the other parts that come before it. Before, people will often only remember what you said at the beginning and end of your presentation, and they may lose focus during the body. Therefore, you should end with a powerful call to action or convincing argument if you want to be sure you will get people to adopt your idea or point. So there are 7 steps that you may follow in closing presentation. The first one is signaling. The first one is signaling the end. The second is summarize. Concluding, final recommendation, support, closing, and inviting question. This is some of the expression that you can use in closing presentation. The first one is signaling the end. Example of the expression, you can say, sorry, the expression that you can say is, for example, like, okay, that brings me to the end of all my talk or presentation. This is the end of my talk or presentation. So that's all I have to say, blah blah blah. And I come to the end of my talk or presentation, blah 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 blah. And second is summarizing. Expression that you can say, for example, like to sum up, blah blah blah, in a brief, blah blah blah. Before I start, let me just blah blah blah. If I can briefly summarize, blah blah blah. And third one is concluding. To conclude, I'd like to say, blah blah. I'd like to finish by saying, in conclusion, blah blah blah. And the fourth is final recommendation. You can say, for example, like, it seems to me then that we should blah blah blah. I would therefore recommend or advise that blah blah. And next is support. You can say, for example, like, I have prepared a handout which I will pass around. I give you my email address in case you want to follow up on something I said. And for the closing, you can say thank you for listening so attentively. Thank you for your attention, and then I hope that this has been useful. And next is inviting question. You can say I'd be glad to answer any questions. And that's bring me to the end of my presentation. I'll be really glad to answer questions. And presentation tip. Prepare an answer to a question which you expect. And the second topic is handling question. After a paper presentation, a discussion session is usually held. In this session, participants or audience ask questions related to the topic being presented. You are able to handle audience questions if regarded as one of the important skills in presentation skills. The closing of your presentation in many cases will be an important opportunity for your audience to ask questions and for you to clarify any areas that may not have been clear. So if you are taking questions, make sure you invite your audience to ask them. Um, there are some expressions that may use in handling question. The first one is positive response. The expression that you can say in, for example, like that's good, difficult, complex, and interesting question. Thank you for asking that question. And then I'm glad someone asked that question. It allows me to say blah blah blah. And next is check your answer. And next is check your answer. The expression that you can say, for example, like does that answer your question, or is that okay? And then is that clear now? Can we move on? And for the clarify, the example expression, we can say, if I understand you correctly, you want to know blah blah blah. You're asking me about blah blah. Is that right? Uh, and then sorry, I didn't follow or catch the question. Uh, Next is, could you repeat that for me, please? And next is, in other words, you are asking blah blah blah. And next is refer back. The expression that you can use in refer back, for example, like as I earlier in the first section, or at the end of this second section, blah blah blah, and then yes, I mentioned in the introduction, blah blah blah. And next is accept criticism. The expression that you can use in accept criticism, for example, like I accept that, blah blah blah, or that's a fair point, or I agree with what you are saying. You also can say up to a point, I agree. Next is referring back to the presentation. The expression that you can use, for example, like I said that, or point out, or explain earlier, blah blah blah. And you also can say, I think we are already made it clear that blah blah blah. Okay, and for the handing a question, there is some expression that you have to avoid. The first one is wrong person. You have to avoid to say, I'm afraid I can't really answer that, or that's not really my area of field. I'm afraid. And then you also have to avoid the wrong topic. You for the wrong topic, you have to avoid say I'm afraid that question goes beyond the subjects of today's presentation, and I'm afraid that's confidential. And then you also can avoid tennis turning equation. And then you also have to avoiding tennis turning equation. For example, like you can avoid to say, well, let me ask you the same question, and you have to avoid say, okay, let me ask you a question. And last is you can avoiding handing the expression that you have to avoid that. Well, that depends on what you mean by blah blah, and then well, it's our various complicated method. And that's all about handing question. Let's jump into the last topic, which is presenting at a glance. There are three parts when presenting at a glance. The first one is introduction, next is main body, and next is ending. This is the step and expression that we can use in introduction. The first one is greet. Uh, uh, in a greet, you can say good morning, welcome to blah blah blah. And next is introduce yourself. You can say my name is blah blah blah. For example, like my name is Puspa. And next is state objective. You can say the objective of our presentation today is blah blah blah. And next is outline structure. You can say I have divided the talk in the 5 sections, blah blah blah. And next in line, you can say I will take 5 minutes. And next is questions. Uh, The expression that you can say is feel free to interrupt. And next is, and the last step is link. Or you can say, okay, to begin, I'd like to look at blah, blah, blah. And this is the steps and an expression that we can use in the main body. And the first step is part one. You can say, so the first of my presentation, and then the next step is closing first part. Is the example of the expression is, so that's all I have to say on the first point. Any question on that? And next step is opening part. Opening part two, and the expression, this example of the expression, you can say, okay, let's move on to the second, which I have called blah blah blah. And next step is sequencing. You can say there are two questions to look at her, at here. Firstly, blah blah blah, and then closing, moving on. The expression that you can say is, okay, that's everything on part two, blah 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 blah. And then highlighting, the expression is, here I would like to highlight two items. Next is using visual. Next step is using visual. The expression is, as you can see on this chart, blah blah blah. And next step is recommending. The expression that you can say is, I would suggest blah blah. And next is decreasing. The expression that you can say is, could I decrease for a second? Next is returning. The expression is, let me now return to blah blah blah. And the last step is closing. In closing, you can, the expression example that you can say in closing is, okay, that's all I wanted to say on part 3. And next is steps on expression that we can use in ending. The step that we can use in ending, first one is signal end, the second is summarize, and then conclude, and then invite questions, and next is handle questions positively, and the last is closing. In the signal end, the expression that we can use is that, for example, like that bring me to the end of my presentation. And for the summarize, we can say to sum up, blah blah blah. And for the conclude, we can say in conclusion, I would like to say blah blah blah. And for the inviting questions, we can say, are there any questions? And for handle questions positively, you can say, that's a good question. And next and last is for the closing, we can say, if there are any more questions, I'll finish there. Okay, I think that's all about my presentation. Thank you for watching.